Hi all, welcome to another session of Cloud Integration series. Now today's session, let's talk about what an API is. Nowadays, you keep hearing API everywhere. So let's talk more about it, right? So API stands for Application Program Interface. It enables communication between two applications which are completely different from each other, right? Say for example, consider application A, which is built on Linux platform and it uses Java as its language and Oracle as its backend. And application B, which is built on Windows platform using .NET and has MySQL as its database. In general, these two applications cannot communicate with each other, but with the help of APIs, they will be able to communicate and exchange data between each other. Consider an example where you've gone to a restaurant and you wanted to order food from the kitchen. You speak English, but the chef in the kitchen speaks German. So it becomes difficult for you to order food from the kitchen, right? So there should be a mediator who understands English and can communicate with you and can carry your order to the kitchen and give the order to the chef and get that order to you, right? So the mediator, who is the waiter here, enables the communication between you and kitchen, which therefore acts as an API. Clear? And similarly, consider there is a server which provides this service and client which wants to consume that service. And for these two to communicate with each other, there should be a medium of format which is understood by both of them. To be more specific, consider a phone call. For the call to be enabled, the medium here is the phone and the format is the language that is understood by both the callers. Clear? Similarly, for the client and server to communicate, the medium is HTTP and the format is XML or JSON. Okay? Now consider this Make My Trip application. You all know Make My Trip, right? It gives you the flight information from different airlines where you can book the ticket, cancel them, view the status of the flight, etc. Now, how do you think the communication is possible? Uh, do you think airlines provide database access to Make My Trip? No. No airlines will give database access to any third party vendor. Or do you think airlines dump data once in every hour? No. If that is the case, it will be a lot of issue. Say if a flight is cancelled by AirAsia and still you are able to book ticket via Make My Trip, then it will be a total flop for that application, right? We need to have data at real time. Now consider this. Say all the applications expose their web services through an API. And the third party application, which is Make My Trip in this case, makes use of that API and gets data in secured format. Then that will work, right? So all the airlines expose their data in the form of an API and Make My Trip makes use of that API and gets the data from all the airlines. So all the airlines here are the service providers and Make My Trip is the consumer that has common format for communication with different airlines. Clear? Now let's look at the advantages of an API. Automation. Here instead of people, computers do the work and so it cuts down a lot of time. Many companies equip their developers with APIs because it is a fast approach to complete any task and also requires less human effort, right? And more scope. By incorporating APIs into the system, an application layer can help to distribute data smoothly to other systems and can help in introducing services to new customers. Then efficiency. Once you get access to the API, it is easy for the new content to get published fast. The system publishes the content automatically and makes it available for every channel. Therefore, the content gets shared with a lot of audience easily. Then adaptation. Every system needs to be changed over time, and API helps in changing the system fast. For many companies, it takes a lot of time and money to introduce a new change on the system. But if you incorporate this technology into the system, you will experience better data migration, and also the information can be reviewed better. Then, new data available. The best thing about API is its amazing feature of social equality. When there's information to be shared with all of the citizens of the state, API shares it with every person and not a selected people from few cities or towns. Here.
Let's now talk about API security. As we have discussed, today's modern enterprises rely on APIs to provide more compelling customer services, to communicate with partners and suppliers, and to connect with internal applications. So it is important to keep our API secured and also network secure so that no hackers can break in and compromise on something that is really important. Let us now see some of the security risks that we may have. So first talking about the security risks on client end. App source code exposure. On the client side, we have the application source code running. One way that hackers could find it is if, say, companies publish the source code by mistake on GitHub, the hackers can easily get the source code. Shared passwords. Same passwords can be used by different services as it is impossible to remember all of them, right? So if hackers get to know one password, they have control over different services. Then backend security risks. SQL injection. So this is one of the common way that hackers can penetrate into databases and get sensitive data. And rate limiting. A lot of API providers forget to put rate limit on their API. So the rate limit is the number of times an API consumer can come and hit your endpoint over a given period of time. So it is important to have rate limit. Improper secured endpoints. You have to have your URL very secure. And phishing or social networking attacks. Social networking attacks are a big way that API hackers use to crack into an API and take advantage of any vulnerabilities that they may find. Clear text data. Any sensitive information, like mainly passwords, should never be in clear text. Then, network security risks. Credential theft. Say if the information is being transmitted in clear text passing through the network, and say if your credentials are a part of that text, then somebody can easily sniff into the network and get that information and can cause problem to the API. So it is important to secure our APIs and also the network.
Let us now see how we can provide API security. So API security is provided in different ways in different IPaaS tools. Few tools provide API gateway, which itself manages complete API security. Whereas few tools give different options individually, like say plans individually, authentication, authorizations, individual options can be provided, right? So let's now talk about API gateway, which covers all these options. Okay.
API gateway acts as an intermediary for the incoming requests. You can have increased flexibility in routing of your incoming calls, enhanced protection and governance, and opportunity for caching the frequent responses. So, API gateway is a server that routes the API calls through a unified URL to various atoms, molecules, or clouds in an environment. It caches frequent responses. Say, for example, you have a request for homepage, which is constant, right? So instead of going and hitting the API each time, it caches the homepage in gateway and sends the response from gateway. So thereby, it increases the performance. And as we can assign roles to a group of people, so gateway checks if you are an authorized user or not to access the API.
Then authentication. So authentication can be done internally or externally. Internally, which means application provided authentication, like say basic or OAuth, etc. And external, which means it is provided by the identity providers like OpenID, SAML, etc. And API gateway routes to the appropriate application based on the request. And under security, you can have encryption, plan or policies, etc. So under plans, you can specify the rate limit and quota limit. So rate limit, which means the number of requests allowed per token in the selected time interval. Say for example, you've selected the time interval as per minute. And if you specify the number of requests as 10, then only 10 requests are allowed in a minute. For the 11th request, you'll receive an error. Clear? And you can specify the usage quota, so which means how many maximum requests are allowed in a month or a year. You can configure that as well. So this way we can secure our APIs. So that's the end of our session. Thank you.